Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. We are playing around today with some epoxy resin and Jesmonite. If you watched the last video, I've been playing with silkscreens. Now, you will know, if you've been with me a couple of weeks, you will know I've fallen head over heels in love with the silkscreen effect, and in the last video, I tried it with Jesmonite AC100 and a corresponding colour to kind of like double match them with this beautifully stunning embossed effect. Oh, guys, as soon as I finished filming that, straight away my brain said, what if? What if we use a silk screen directly onto a silicone mould, using Jesmonite AC100 to shove it through the silk screen and then back it in epoxy resin? And that is exactly what we're going to do. I am using purples. I've decided to kind of come away from the botanical theme a little bit on this one. We're going with purples. We're going with beautiful purple shades. Now, I am using the Homeware Design Co. Pigments, as always, in Amethyst. This is stunning. Look at this. Just 2 drops gives me this intense purple shade. Now, I do want to make sure that that is fully mixed into my Jesmonite. So again, just scraping off my lollipop stick, making sure that that color is truly embedded in there. Then we're going to lay our silk screen down onto our mold. Now, the silicone mold I'm using is the oval tray mold from Molds and Shapes. All of your details will be below for your mold and your colors as well, of course. Now, I decided to go with this moon phase silk screen, realizing it was a world away from botanicals. But when I showed my patrons, thank you, Edward, one of my patrons said, actually, Claire, we have an eclipse coming very, very soon. I'm not sure of the exact date, but I think it's this week. We have a lunar eclipse happening. And I was like, oh, yes, that totally ties in. So we're going to pretend that I planned this just for the actual lunar eclipse. Now, with the silk screen, you are simply rubbing it down into your silicone mold. Now, I'm pretty confident this will work with any silicone mold at this point. Making sure that there's no air pockets whatsoever, I am smushing this down all over the silicone mold. And at this point, I'm really not worried about making a mess. If I splash any of that Jesmonite out and over the silk screen, honestly, silicone is just so easy to wipe clean. A little wet wipe or a cloth, just wipe it off and you are good to go. So the purple Jesmonite goes straight into the center. And again, I'm using my gloved hand to smush it down all over. 2 things to know here. The reason I'm doing it this way is that silk screens do not work directly on resin. So we're doing it backwards. We're putting the AC100 on the mold and then pouring in the resin on top. Equally, acrylic paint doesn't work well on silicone molds. I think I tried last year with a stencil, not a silk screen. I tried with a stencil, and if you put acrylic paint directly onto silicone molds, it has a tendency to pull away. It has a tendency to shrink back and pull away, and that will just leave you with half a design, especially a design this intricate. Guys, look at this. How beautiful is this? Now, I'm not gonna lie, straight away I thought, oh, it's skew-iffy. It's totally on the wonk, but that's okay. We're gonna work with it. We're gonna roll with it. It is looking beautiful. Now it is time to back it with epoxy resin. Now, the resin I'm actually using in today's video is Craft Resin. I haven't used their resin for so long. I am so sorry, Craft Resin. I do have a code for Craft Resin as well down in the description box, but I'm using that epoxy resin alongside some of my Vista pigments. Now, I don't have a dark purple neat opaque pigment, so I'm gonna make my own, and I'm just going to mix in some of the Vista purple opaque pigment alongside some black. Now, I'm not gonna lie, at first I panicked. I thought, I've put way too much black in here, it's gonna be black, but actually it did an incredible job of melding together, and we have the most beautiful shade of dark purple. But I did continue to mix this for a solid 2 minutes because that purple still needed to work its way into the black, and then it was time to pour. But it's also worth mentioning the Jesmonite AC100 on the silicone tray right now, it's around 10 to 15 minutes after I did that. So it's not wet, but equally it's not completely cured yet. I just wanted to make sure that it's not going to smudge. I just left it just long enough where I could see it was drying, and then I was happy to pour my epoxy resin down on top of it. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't make enough resin, but that's okay. I didn't really feel like I needed to fill the mold up completely. We still have a chunky, decent silicone tray, and oh my gosh, are you ready? How stunning. How beautiful is it, guys? It is so gorgeous. It is so beautiful. I can see this with absolutely everything. I can see this working with every silk screen. The mold came out beautiful. So we've the Jesmonite fully cured. This is 24 hours later demolding, of course, because of the resin. And I just think it is the most stunning effect with the matte. The Jesmonite AC100 is matte and it will come out matte. And then, of course, you've got the super shiny reflective surface of the epoxy resin. A couple of things here. I did get a couple of micro bubbles in the surface of the resin. Nothing to really worry about. Equally, some of that epoxy resin did seep down underneath the Jesmonite and give it kind of like almost like a highlighted darker edge. And again, I'm not angry about that. I think it's all part of it. I think it's beautiful. I love it, love it, love it. I cannot wait to try more. Some double chin action there for you as well. You're very welcome. I'm just using my deburring tool to take off the back. Now, because I didn't fill the mold up, resin does shrink back. So if you're new to resin, epoxy resin shrinks back, which is why if you don't want to have to carve off your sharp edges, then I would definitely recommend you fill to the very top, and then you won't get that shrinkage and those sharp edges. But because I did not fill to the top, we got some sharp edges, and it's so important to get rid of those. But this is what we're looking like. I love it so much. I am so happy I tried this. But guys, the next video, I am telling you, Anthropology, eat your heart out. I decided to try one more technique with the silk screen before I lay it to rest. Okay, before I move on. Very hard for me to move on when I fall in love with something. We are going silk screens with mica, with chameleon and epoxy resin in the next video, and the results are going to blow you away. They are simply spectacular. I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you wanted to top coat this at this point, you absolutely could, but then you'd lose the effect of the matte Jesmonite. It would be worth seeing what it's like, but am I going to do it? No, I like it like this. I like the pale matte from the Jesmonite. If you also top coat this with resin, you might make that pale purple a lot darker. So yeah, there's two ways of doing this. It's entirely up to you, but I absolutely love it. Love, love, love. I hope you feel inspired. And of course, if you do give this a go, hashtag Claire made me do it. And I will see you all in the next video, which is mica powder and silk screens. I cannot even cope with the results. I will see you then. Bye.